Okay, this one's a big step up and it hit the docket on June 26th. Blizzard has gone to the court in the Ascension case and asked for permission to fire off 13 subpoenas at some of the biggest companies on the internet. Google and YouTube, Discord, PayPal, GitHub, Cloudflare, the whole lineup, and the goal of every single one of them is the same. Pull the masks off, find out who's actually running Project Ascension. And before we get into it, two things, because this one needs them. If I get any of the legal side wrong, tell me in the comments. I'm reading from the actual filing, but I'm not a lawyer. And second, I'm going to be careful in this video about names, and you'll see why as we go, because the way this document is built is genuinely a little alarming, and I don't want to make it worse for anyone. So the thing that got filed is called an ex parte application for early discovery, which sounds like nothing and is actually a lot. In plain terms, Blizzard is asking the judge to let them start dragging information out of third parties right now, before the defendants have even responded. And they're asking for it ex parte, which means they want it granted without waiting to hear the other side. Their argument for the rush is blunt. The lawsuit's been all over the gaming press, so the people behind Ascension know they're being hunted and online data gets deleted. So move fast before anything disappears. And here's the tell that this isn't a long shot. The whole filing leans on the Turtle case because the exact same court granted Blizzard this exact kind of discovery against Turtle back in October. So they're basically walking up to the judge going, "You already let us do this once, do it again." Which means this very probably gets approved. So who's on the list and what do they actually want from each one? And this is where it gets specific in a way the headlines haven't really captured. The social media platforms are the first bucket: YouTube, X, TikTok, Discord, Facebook, LinkedIn. Blizzard's logic here is simple and kind of clever. To make an account on any of these, you hand over a name and a real email address, and the platform quietly logs the IP address you used to sign up and every time you log back in. So even if you've spent years posting only under a handle, the platform still knows the email and the IP sitting behind that handle. That's what Blizzard wants, not your posts. The sign-up details and the connection logs underneath them. Then PayPal and payment wall, the payment side, same idea pointed at the money, the names and emails and IP addresses tied to whoever was processing the donations. Namecheap and Cloudflare, the domain registrar and the website host, or the registration details behind the site itself, and GitHub, which is the one that should make a certain kind of person nervous, because the filing says there are 2 Ascension code repositories on there, and they want the account info behind whoever uploaded and maintained that code. That's not aimed at the marketers or the mods. That's aimed straight at the developers, the people who actually wrote it. Now I need to slow down here because this is the bit that matters most, and it's the bit getting lost. When people see Discord on a subpoena list, the immediate panic is, oh no, is Blizzard about to pull everyone who's ever been in the Ascension Discord? And I get it, but read the actual filing, and that's not what this is. Blizzard says in writing that they are only after information that identifies the operators, and they explicitly say they are not asking for the content of any emails, chat logs, or messages. They want to know who runs the official accounts. They do not want to read your DMs, and they're not fishing through the membership list for random players. The whole thing is pointed at the people running the business, not the people enjoying it. So if you played on Ascension, or you're in a community server arguing about the lawsuit, this filing is not reaching for you. I want to be really clear about that, because the scary version of this story is going to spread, and it's not the accurate one. Okay, now the genuinely juicy part, the detail that actually made me sit up. You might remember Ascension's money allegedly ran through a couple of shell companies with no offices and no employees. Well, this filing goes a step further and explains how one of them got built. Blizzard says it was set up through a corporate registration service whose owner, and I'm quoting the gist here, openly advises business owners on how to structure companies specifically to avoid tax and legal liability. And the person listed as the sole officer of that shell company, the only name on the paperwork, Blizzard thinks is, in their words, Likely merely a strawman, a front person whose name exists on the documents purely to hide who actually owns the thing. Sit with that. The allegation is that somebody was essentially hired to be a name on a form, so the real operators could stay invisible behind a company that does nothing. And Blizzard now wants to subpoena that registration service to find out who walked in and paid to set the whole structure up. That's not whack-a-mole against a game server anymore. That's Blizzard pulling on a thread that leads to whoever engineered the hiding. I'm keeping names out of this, by the way, on purpose, because the alleged strawman might genuinely have done nothing wrong. That's kind of the whole point of being a strawman. And then there's the part of this filing that honestly stopped me, because it reads like Blizzard has been watching the exact conversation this community has been having. In the section where they argue for urgency, Blizzard's lawyers predict what the people behind Ascension are going to do now that they know they're being hunted. And the list they give is word for substance, switch service providers, delete their profiles and aliases, transfer assets to other people or companies, move to different payment processors, and shift to untraceable currencies like Bitcoin. I've made entire videos arguing that Blizzard's legal pressure is going to push this whole scene toward anonymous hosting and crypto and people you can't trace. And here is Blizzard in the federal court filing predicting that exact move in writing as the reason they need to act fast. They are not just confirming the theory, they're building their legal strategy around it. The hunt is specifically designed to close the doors before the targets can run offshore. That's the thesis of where this scene is heading, signed and filed by the people forcing it to happen. So where does this leave the case? If the judge grants this and the turtle precedent says he very likely will, then Blizzard starts collecting names, emails, and IP addresses from a dozen of the biggest platforms on Earth, and those companies get at least 21 days to hand the information over, with anybody affected getting a chance to object first. After that, Blizzard takes whatever it learns, amends the lawsuit, and starts naming the people it can now identify. And that's the real significance of this filing. The original lawsuit was Blizzard swinging at a set of aliases. This is Blizzard trying to turn those aliases into actual human beings with addresses, so it can serve them, name them, and aim the shutdown order at someone real. It's the unmasking phase, and given how the document is written, careful, precedented, leaning on a case they already won, I'd be a little surprised if it doesn't work. So I want to know what you think. Does this feel like Blizzard finally cornering an operation that spent years hiding? Or does it feel like a company with infinite lawyers using federal subpoenas to pull the masks off a video game project? This case is going to keep moving over the next few weeks, and I'll be covering every real development as it happens. So if you want to actually follow where this goes, subscribing is the way to not miss it. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, take care